Friendly frequency 96.1 FM Abuja. We're here once again with the front page review. My name is Ali Udoma, and I say good morning to you out there. We have quite a number of stories to look at this beautiful morning. It's Wednesday, midweek, 2nd August 2023, and studio time is 5 minutes past 7. Let's start with this particular headline that cut across all the papers, but we will be picking that of the Punch newspaper that says Tinubu failed to acknowledge Nigerians suffering, says NLC. The Nigerian Labour Congress has strongly criticized President Bola Tinubu's Monday address to the nation, stating that it completely disregards the harsh realities faced by the majority of Nigerians and failed to acknowledge the profound hardships and suffering they have endured. The president of the NLC, Joe Ajero, in a release on Tuesday said the president's promises and assurances during the national broadcast were not the silver bullet that Nigerians expected. The speech indeed appears to be out of touch with reality and anomalous with the hardship and suffering that most Nigerians are going through now, Ajero said. According to him, the NLC expect that the next line of statement would be how the present government plans to resuscitate public refineries which have been lying comatose for so many years. Ajero claimed the grounded refineries were the major pain points in the whole subsidy narrative. Unfortunately, the entire speech by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was completely silent on the issue of the repair of our national refineries, consistent with our perception of the misalignment of Mr. President's promises and offerings to the reality faced by millions of workers and ordinary Nigerians. Was the failure of President Tinubu to unmask those behind the looting of Nigeria's commonwealth under the guise of petrol subsidy, he asserted. The NLC president said it was unacceptable for the president to lament like ordinary Nigerians about a group that he referred to in his speech as the elites of the elite who have stolen so much from Nigeria that they have become so powerful as to constitute a threat to democratic governance. What Nigerians expected from Mr. President is a firm commitment to bring these economic saboteurs to justice and recover what they have stolen. Mr. President's statement on working with organized labor to review the national minimum wage is out of sync with what has played out since President Tinubu removed the so-called petrol subsidy. This is coming from the Nigerian Labour Congress, and they are coming out with this particular stance that there is no going back. Nigeria would protest. Nigerians will come out to protest because there is one underlying factor that is the main pain point of Nigerians. I like that word, main pain point of Nigerians, because we have talked about this on several occasions on this platform about the fact that a refinery in Nigeria it doesn't have any alternative. It's a necessity if really we are going to cushion the effect of fuel subsidy. Because if we have our refinery in Nigeria, we refine the product in Nigeria, we don't need to buy at the international price. Because now we are buying at the international price that every other country is buying. Whether you have petroleum products in your country or not, you are buying at that same price. So that is exactly what we are left with by the current administration after the removal of fuel subsidy. But again, if we have our refineries working, we already have refineries in Nigeria, but they are not working. They've not been working. We have in Kaduna, we have in Port Harcourt, we have in Warri. Put together, the refining capacity is around 450,000 barrels per day, which ordinarily would be able to satisfy the demand of Nigeria in terms of what we want in this country. Because based on what I saw, based on what I read after my research, is that if we are going to be able to refine 218,000 barrels per day, it will be able to take care of the demand of petrol in Nigeria. We are not even saying we should get to maximum capacity of 450,000. 218,000 will be able to take care of Nigeria. That is, I'm talking about the crude oil now. If we refine 218,000 barrels per day, we'll be able to get the 45 million liters of petrol that we need. And don't forget that there are other byproducts that we will get after refining the petrol, that is the crude, which means we really need that as most, and there is no alternative to that. Whatever the government will bring, yes, it may have an impact, but what will solve the problem is when we have our own refinery refining the product. That is the best solution, and that is part of what the NLC chairman, president rather, Joe Ajaero, is echoing in this particular headline that we have read out from the Punch newspaper. And again, let's move to another headline from the Guardian newspaper, still talking about the NLC. NLC defies truce, proceed on nationwide protest over rising hardship. Rumor of reconsidering protest handwork of fifth columnist Labour. These are some of the riders that we have from this headline. By Jabia Miller, we are hopeful Labour won't protest. Ajaero lists demand before protests can be suspended. No room for violent protests, IGP warns NLC and TUC. Police disperse demonstrators in Kano warm-up protest. Northern CSOs pull out of strike. Another coalition warns against repeat of end SARS. Lukman accuses NLC of playing politics with fuel subsidy. Oil production under threat as workers protest on paid salaries and allowances. These are the number of riders we have on this particular headline. Quite a number of them. About 8 riders on this headline. Let's take a look at the details of this particular one. Despite all government did to throw spanners in the works, including court injunctions and long-drawn negotiation meetings, the Nigerian Labour Congress NLC will today proceed with its planned protest against recent fuel price hike, tuition fees hike in public schools, and withheld salaries of lecturers and workers in universities. There had been doubt over fate of the nationwide protests called out to demonstrate against what Labour described as anti-poor and anti-workers policies of government, with some saying NLC would, as usual, chicken out at the last minute, especially after suspending a planned strike twice this year alone. In March against currency swap introduced by the Central Bank of Nigeria, and in June against removal of fuel subsidy. Rising yesterday from the rescheduled Presidential Steering Committee on Palliatives meeting with organized labor comprising NLC, TUC, there had been insinuations that the labor leaders would rethink its planned nationwide strike. TUC President Festus Osifo stated that while President Bola Tinubu's palliative measures were welcoming, they were not comprehensive, adding that while government requested that the protest be shelved, the organized labor would consult with members whom they represent to reach a consensus on the next course of action before the day ends. That was yesterday. Corroborating, Osifo, Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, described organized labor as a listening organization that would not go ahead with its planned protest after listening to President Tinubu's national broadcast on Monday. He said, basically, we laid out the plan and intervention of the president as you all heard in his broadcast. We made it clear that this was Mr. President's initial rolled out interventions, and the conversations will be ongoing as we go along. So we are hopeful that they will do the right thing and not protest tomorrow, that is today, Wednesday. But in a swift reaction, NLC denied rumors making the rounds that it was reconsidering the nationwide protest, which it alleged was the handwork of fifth columnists. It insisted that despite all distractions, the Congress and its members were fully mobilized across the country and nothing has changed. NLC President Joe Ajaero said the Congress neither reconsidered nor suspended the nationwide mass protest. Ajaero, in a statement personally signed by him, listed the Congress demand, which include immediate implementation in good faith of the resolution with the Congress jointly signed with the government and TUC. It demanded the immediate reversal of all anti-poor policies of the government, including the recent hike in fuel prices, also school fees and value-added tax. Part of the NLC demand, Ajaero said also include the fixing of local refineries in Port Harcourt, Warri, and Kaduna, release of 8 months withheld salaries of university lecturers and workers. He said the government should accord appropriate recognition and support to the Presidential Steering Committee and the work of its subcommittees, as well as put a stop to inhuman actions and policies of the government. Also, General Secretary of NLC Emmanuel Ugboaja, in a phone interview, told The Guardian the protest is going on. There is nothing to reconsider. The person that quoted me must be an imbecile. I have not spoken with the media today. It is all the tactics to cause confusion. I say the action is on. We are fully mobilized across the country. Nothing has changed, that not even the meeting we had with the government. We are not reconsidering. It is the action of fifth columnists. This is something that is going on in Nigeria now, and we are putting all fingers crossed, putting all our ears on ground, our eyes open to see how it unfolds. But we are gonna be telling you anything that comes up after now concerning the planned protest by the NLC and TUC. Nationwide protest is what they are saying. And also, there are other persons who are also having a contrary opinion to this particular information that we are looking at, because the acting Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has warned the NLC and TUC members over the protest. Egbetokun warned that although he is mindful of the right to peaceful protest, the police would not allow any violent rallies. In a statement signed by the first public relations officer, ACP Olumuyiwa Adejobi, IGP urged all parties involved to ensure that the planned demonstrations are conducted peacefully to prevent being hijacked by miscreants, especially in major cosmopolitan cities. According to the statement, the IGP ordered the commissioners of police and supervisory assistant inspectors general of police to engage in fruitful discussions with leadership of the labor unions to foster understanding and reach common ground on the protest. However, it is hereby reaffirmed that any attempt by a miscreant to exploit the situation for violent protests or violent purposes vis-a-vis vandalism, gangsterism, and extortion will be met with firm, professional, and commensurate lawful approach. The police will not tolerate any act that threatens the peace and well-being of our country, the statement emphasized. The police in Kano State yesterday dispersed a protest organized by some groups in order to express their displeasure over removal of fuel subsidy as warm-up for today's protest. The group, who were said to have arrived early in the morning, began the protest before the arrival of security operatives. It was gathered that the protesters had assembled at Gidam Murtala, very close to Kofar Nasarawa Road, as early as 7 a.m. But when journalists arrived at the scene, policemen took over the venue where the protest had already been held. Also, yesterday, 16 northern-based CSOs under the aegis of the coalition of Arewa civil society organizations pulled out of the protest on the grounds that the action will damage the fragile economy and cause more hardship to ordinary citizens. After a critical study of the disadvantages and overall consequences on the masses, we decided to pull out immediately and ask the labor unions and federal government to rather embrace dialogue on mitigating measures, the CSOs stated. Okay, the coalition excuse me, I beg your pardon. Former Director General of the Progressive Governors Forum PGF and erstwhile National Vice Chairman of the All Progressives Congress APC for Northwest, Dr. Saliu Lukman, has accused NLC of politicizing the issue relating to the removal of fuel subsidy in the country. Lukman, in a statement titled Silver Bullet, Politics and Challenges of Democracy, urged the Joe Ajero-led NLC to rise above the narrow sentiment of playing to the gallery on the issue of fuel subsidy removal. He said, acknowledging that there are gaps in the proposal by the government to cushion the effects of subsidy removal on the citizenry, he maintained that NLC posture on the issue was unacceptable and will not augur well for our democracy. He applauded President Tinubu for finding it compelling to address the nation given the difficulties Nigerians are facing since the withdrawal of fuel subsidy. If anything, this confirmed that the president is not in denial and aspires to ensure that his government is responsive. In another development, workers' welfare crisis and maladministration allegation leveled against management of the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission (NUPRC) may threaten the daily crude oil production of Nigeria. The workers who protested with held salaries in Abuja yesterday said the commission, supervised by Gbenga Komolafe, may be thrown into an industrial crisis if urgent measures are not taken to resolve unpaid salaries and emoluments of workers. The commission's branch chairman of the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Pengasan Okechukwu Anya, said the commission is currently facing serious allegations of staff welfare neglect and financial mismanagement from its employee union. The NUPRC is facing an impending crisis of industrial unrest. The commission staff union is expressing profound displeasure and is carrying out civil disobedience, a non-violent form of protest, as a response to ongoing concerns over welfare neglect and financial mismanagement. Anya noted that despite a series of prior letters and meetings aimed at addressing the concerns, the situation has escalated, with the union expressing deep dissatisfaction with the commission's management and alleged indifference to resolve the issues. This is quite lengthy to look at because we have gone through all of the riders on this particular information. Rumor of reconsidering protest handwork of fifth columnist according to Labour. Gbajabia Miller, we are hopeful Labour won't protest. Ajero insists the least demand before protest can be suspended. No room for violent protest. IGP warns NLC and TUC. Police disperse demonstrators in Kano warm-up protest. Northern CSOs pull out of strike. Another coalition warned against repeat of end SARS. Lukman accuses NLC of playing politics with fuel subsidy. And oil production under threat as workers protest unpaid salaries and allowances. These are some of the headlines that we have looked at, and we will continue to look at more headlines going into the program. And don't forget, by 7:30 we will be linking up with Rufai Oseni, who will also add more to this conversation that we are already having. Meanwhile, in the interim, I will be opening the phone line so that you can get to call in and also your voice be heard. Your opinion matters in this conversation, especially now that you know you have a voice here on Voice of the People 96.1 FM. The phone number to call in is 0700 010 961 961. 0700 010 961 961. You can send an SMS to same number, or you call me through normal call, or you want to use the WhatsApp platform, you can use the WhatsApp and call in, or send your WhatsApp message or voice note. We will read your message and play your voice note. But mind you, please, when you send in a voice note, please make sure you don't use foul language that are not acceptable on radio, so that you don't just get to put me or my station in trouble. Let's take a look at some other headlines before we go on a quick commercial break and return with our guest analyst on the show. There is this one that is on the Punch newspaper that says Kano suspend CMDs, health workers for shunning night duty. The Kano State Hospital Management Board has removed the chief medical officers of 3 healthcare facilities in the state where health workers shun night duty on July 30th. The affected hospitals are Imam Wali General Hospital, Abubakar Imam Urology Center, and Nuhu Bamali Maternity Hospital. The public relations officer of the hospital's management board, Samira Suleiman, said in a statement on Tuesday that the removal of the CMDs and the suspension of the health workers were approved by the executive secretary, Dr. Mansur Nagoda. According to the statement, the health workers neglected their duties by absenting themselves from night duty, leaving patients in the hands of students. Noguda warned that the board would not condone negligence, lateness, or absenteeism from duty by any medical personnel, adding that anyone found wanting would face sanctions by the civil service rules and regulation. Noguda called on other hospitals to buckle down, as all facilities will be monitored closely to revive the health sector of the state to a standard level. I must say this is quite commendable from the hospital management board. However, they should also carry out a due diligence, in terms of investigation, and know that these people should not be aggrieved. They should know why they were suspended or sacked. If at all they have excuses or they have reasons to bring forward, there should be fair hearing in this regard. That is what I'm calling. And Abuja, you can also call and have your say on this particular conversation. What has been your reaction or your relationship or services rendered in hospitals in Nigeria? Yes, this is happening in Kano State, but this is something that we can really expand and look at it holistically as a nation, Nigeria. Services rendered or service rendering in our hospitals in Nigeria. What would you say about that? You can do well to call the studio line. Meanwhile, you can halt your call because I'm gonna go pay some bills. If I come back, I will link up with my guest analyst, Mr. Rufai Oseni, who will also add more color to the conversation this morning. Stay with VOP 96.1 FM and don't change your dial. This is Front Page Review. Meanwhile, you can reach us or you can watch what we do live on YouTube at VOP 961. We're also live on Instagram, Twitter, Thread, and Facebook at VOP 961. Stay with me and don't change your dial. We will continue after this timeout.
To connect with the live studio, press 0700 010 961 961. Thank you for calling Voice of the People Radio. Please hold while we connect you.
Microphone check 1 2 1 2. Now you have a voice 1 2 1 2. Because everybody talking 96.1. Hold up, what's up? 96.1. Don't break the voice.
Thank you for choosing Voice of the People FM.
Are you traveling to Lagos and desire a perfect getaway?
Look no further than the luxurious accommodations at Airport Golden Tulip Hotel, number 42 Murtala Mohammed International Road, Lagos.
Relax and unwind in our beautiful appointed rooms, featuring all the amenities you need for a comfortable stay.
Now, whether you are traveling for business or pleasure, our attentive staff is here to ensure that your every need is met. We also offer complimentary pick-up and drop from the Lagos Airport.
Why not take advantage of our state-of-the-art fitness center, outdoor pool, and enjoy a delicious meal at our on-site restaurant?
With stormy views, world-class service, and a prime location, Airport Golden Tulip Hotel is the perfect choice for your next vacation or business trip.
So why wait? Book your stay today and experience the ultimate in comfort and luxury at Airport Golden Tulip Hotel.
For bookings and reservations, please call 0815-8003-333 or 0815-7003-333. You can visit our website at airportgoldentuliphotel.com.
Airport Golden Tulip Hotel, where luxury meets comfort.
Believe me, believe me, believe me.
Are you aware that Iruka Online Limited installed and designed a 100,000 capacity church building? Oh yeah, we are the sole distributors of global leading brands all over the world, such as Wafday Line Array, speakers and digital amplifiers, Preseno's digital mixers and studio equipment, Coswell workstations and keyboards, Fender guitars, Mapex drums, Ashdown bass combos, just to mention but a few. We offer flexible payment plan handled by our financial department with 24/7 customer care support system. You can visit our website on www.iruka.com to avoid buying fake products. You can also visit our showroom at number 36 Lagos International Airport Road beside Golden Tulip Hotel. Iruka, never settle for less.
The award-winning pizza in the US is now here in Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Romeo, the pizza champions, and cold-berry ice cream.
Nice in every school.
Visit any of our outlets and feel the rich taste from the pizza champions and cold-berry ice cream.
At number 4, Obomosho Street,
Area 8, Gariki, Abuja, or 3rd Avenue, Gwarinpa, Abuja, or Federal Housing Estate, Phase 2, Lube, Abuja. Call 0908-831-5906 or 0908-831-5908 or 0909-238-9861. Check us out on Instagram and Twitter at rumourspizza.ng. Website www.rumourspizza.ng. Romeo, the Pizza Champions.
Welcome back, and in case you just joined, you're welcome. This is VOP 96.1 FM front page review, and it's now time for us to link up with our guest analyst in person of Rufai Oseni to have a conversation around the headlines that we have for today.
Hello.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Yes, you. How are you? Hello.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, up and running. We have quite a number of headlines that we will be looking at, especially this one that I have on the Guardian newspaper with a lot of riders that I would love us to take one after the other. It says NLC defies truce, proceed on nationwide protest over rising hardship. That is the headline. And some of the rider says rumor of reconsidering protest, handwork of fifth columnist, according to Labour. And Gbajabia Mila, we are hopeful Labour won't protest. Joe Ajero lists demand before protest can be suspended. And another is saying no room for violent protest. IGP warns NLC and TUC. Police disperse demonstrators in Kano. Warm-up protest. Northern CSOs pull out of strike. Another coalition warn against repeat of end SARS. Lukman accuses NLC of playing politics with fuel subsidy. Oil production under threat as workers protest unpaid salaries and allowances. One headline with so many riders.
Truth is, Labour has a right to protest, and in fact, the protests have started. I heard there was one in Kano yesterday.
Yes.
As regards rising cost of living. There's been protests in other parts. There's been a warehouse break in Adamawa.
Yes.
All of these are because of the cost of living. So Labour has decided that all of the measures announced by the president doesn't cut enough. So that means the president must do more to be able to assuage the fears of Labour. What it means that Labour has not done more to be able to assuage the fears of Labour. So if they go ahead, as long as it is peaceful, protest is needed. TUC has joined them. Some other people say they will not join Labour, but TUC has joined them, Labour, and the protest is going to be on. But let's see how all of this pans out.
All right.
It's as simple as that. People have a...
All right, what do you make of the statement by Salu Lukman, who accuses NLC of playing politics with fuel subsidy?
I mean, what do you expect Salu Lukman to say? Salu Lukman is a member of the APC.
And
but
you look at him as an aggrieved member of the APC.
No, he's an aggrieved member, but he has not left the party. He's still a member of the APC, so he thinks in tandem with the government. But Labour has their concerns, and when people have their concerns, they're not playing politics. Labour is not playing politics. Are you not suffering? Is your life any better?
Not at all.
Are you not complaining about the things happening in the markets?
Of course we are.
As past through the order of the day, has the government not been haphazard in making decisions as regards currency? You floated the currency, learning fully well what happened in 2016, that you didn't have the money to defend the currency. You floated it. Do you know that there's a pass-through effect? Even the common stick of sugar I used to buy for 500 naira, as at 1,000 naira, and they say that dollar go up. You wonder, say, dollar affect sugar, but there's a pass-through effect. Dollar.
Yeah, of course.
And there's a pass-through effect of removal of subsidy. So people are reeling from the inflation, and somebody saying they are playing politics with what is it called? No, the real people that have played politics with this subsidy issue is the likes of President Tinubu, when in 2012 wrote an article and condemned Jonathan for removing subsidy. I think that was the best people have pulled out subsidy. So the real people, and that's what he's saying, like when you point one hand, four is pointing back at you. Be careful.
Yeah.
The real people that are playing politics with it, that played politics with this subsidy thing, is the like of the incumbent president. Because 2010 will have been a good time, and all of these reforms he announced, the President Jonathan to announced it then. He put in place SURE-P, subsidy removal program.
Yeah.
He said they were going to buy buses to them. Then they were going to give undergrads money. They set up SURE-P for them. university graduates, a graduate employment scheme. All of these things he just announced, they too they put in place. But because of the politics and you wanted to discredit the man to make him look bad, you didn't accept all of that. You even wrote a what is it called, an article, and you called subsidy then something removal Jonathan's tax. Is it safe also to call it Tinubu's tax now? So because when people do things, don't forget that posterity will judge us.
Yeah. All right, now that NSAS protest is still fresh on our mind, because a couple of days ago we talked about the mass burial that Lagos State government wants to do of over 103 persons. So it's still fresh on our mind. We've not forgotten how people lost their life and livelihood as well. What can you say about those who are having the perception that we should not protest because we cannot guarantee that it's going to be peaceful, just like we were unable to guarantee NSAS protest? It started peacefully but later hijacked. How are we sure that this would not also be hijacked?
Let's call it. If the government wants to crack down on protesters, we know what happened. We know the story of NSAS. Nobody should come on. We knew how thugs that were leaning towards political figures were the ones that started the violence first during NSAS. And the thugs were identified that they work for XYZ politicians. So when they said it was hijacked, we knew that there was a method that was employed by some politicians to use their own thugs to infiltrate. The question you should ask yourself is, why is it that when we had the Ojota protest in 2012, it was peaceful all throughout? This country was shut down for over 2 weeks. So please, nobody should deceive us and deny our right to protest, or deny the right of people.
All right, still with that protest. Still with the protest.
Let me finish.
Okay.
Let me finish.
All right.
Let me finish. Concerning NSAS, we knew when the crisis started, when they started turning the thugs in. It was not the peaceful protester that turned the thugs in. I once asked somebody, and I'm going to tell you this off record, and that's why leadership matters. I asked the person in confidence, and I asked him that during the Ojota protest, that was there ever a time that people around President Jonathan advised him to use the military to crack down on protesters? He said yes. And this was somebody in the villa. I said, did President Jonathan do it? He said, President Jonathan said no, he will never use the military on his people. And that's why the military was there to, in fact, even protect the protesters. That was also the case even when this NSAS protest started. The military was there every single night. They were there with the protesters to protect the protesters when they did a candlelight vigil and all of that. So President Jonathan too could have used the military to crack down on them, but he said he was not going to do it. And that's why we keep saying the temperament of who is the president of the country matters. And that's why I was very angry when they brought a petition yesterday against El-Rufai and they not allow them hear it at the screening ground, which is wrong. So where are they going to hear the petition?
We'll get to that. It's also part of the headline that we'll
let me finish, my brother.
Yeah.
Where are we going to hear that? Do we want it to be a case like we had with a former minister that they said he had links to some groups? When are we going to tell ourselves the truth in this country? We know the truth, but we shy away from speaking it. You with the floor, my brother.
All right, still with Joe Ajero, the NLC president, where he said that the grounded refineries were the major pain points in the whole subsidy narrative, but President Bola Tinubu did not even say anything concerning the refineries during his national broadcast.
But Joe Ajero is not lying now. We all know how President Buhari even said they were going to build refineries. The grounded refinery, because the argument has always been, if our refineries are working and we are producing enough for our local market, we should be able to determine what will become the price, because at least we'll not be paying landing costs. All right?
Yes.
So that's it. That has always been the point of view of Labour. But let me also stretch this subsidy conversation further.
Yeah.
President Yaradua paid subsidies. I'm not sure that the number of cars in Nigeria between 2007 and 2009 has increased 100-fold. Even if it's going to increase maybe 1 or 2 or 3 more million cars more, because the total cars in Nigeria is about 12-15 million. But President Yar'Adua paid subsidies, and he also made savings. And for the first time under President Yar'Adua, the petrol price reduced. I think it was from 76 naira to 67 naira. And he paid subsidies. And he also saved in the external reserves. I think he pushed the external reserves over 12 billion then. So the question is, it's also a case of management. Why is it that it was possible for Yar'Adua to manage things? And that's why I said before the subsidy removal, it was best for us to have even done a forensic audit to see how there was management in the NMPC of our resource. Ojo Ajero is not lying. It's not lying.
All right.
Where are the refineries? The NMPC said the refinery was going to work by the end of last year. We are in August. We are August 2 now.
Yes.
Maybe this was the August that Dangote Refinery said they were going to start producing their first product. Where is their product now?
I mean, I don't want to even go to Dangote Refinery because
why are you laughing?
There are evidence.
Why are you laughing?
There are evidence of
why are you laughing?
Work is still ongoing.
Why are you laughing? You don't want to. Why don't you want to go there? Let's go there.
Work is
Where are the products?
Work is still ongoing there. They just came and do some shenanigans to commission that place and said the refinery is ready, this and that. But obviously, we know that there are evidences now that refinery is not completely done. Work is still ongoing there. So it's just the Nigerian factor that they just came and deceive us with all of that.
So you are seeing for yourself now. You mean they say by August products will be coming out? Where are the products?
All right, let's move. Mr. Rufai, let's move to this other headline where I will even allow you to talk more on what happened yesterday on the floor of the Senate, talking about the El-Rufai issue that happened. This one is on the Punch newspaper that says Tinubu sent second ministerial list today. A reliable source from the National Assembly told the Punch that the list of other nominees will get to the Senate either late yesterday or today. That's second this morning. And the Senate had yesterday screened 14 out of the 28 ministerial nominees. On Monday, rather, screened 14 out of the 28 nominees earlier submitted by President Tinubu. On Tuesday, 9 out of the remaining 14 were screened. Those screened on Tuesday were Senator David Umahi, Olaole Edun, Nasir El-Rufai, Ahmed Engiwa, Uche Naji, Stella Okutete, Adebayo Adelabu, Ekperikpe Ekpo, and Hannatu Musawa. So what would be your high point, or give and take? What do you have to say about those who were screened yesterday and all that happened on the floor of the Senate?
I was not really too impressed. I expected so much back of Wale, but I didn't hear a lot. I was not really impressed. Saying that I was going to find his value at 700 was a fair value. But before you start pushing for something, I think there should have been enough arsenal to defend it. So I didn't hear a lot from Wale. In fact, when he was asked the question on the best way to be able to distribute the palliative, says okay because the matter is contentious. What I expected, it was a philosophy question. I just wanted to know his philosophy of things. So I mean, it leaves much to be desired. The one I've spoken about was the one I watched, the El-Rufai one. I would not like to give a comment on that to Musawa's one because I didn't watch that one.
Okay.
I had a lot to invest in and out. So I'm just giving my comment on the El-Rufai one, and that's it.
All right, thank you.
But everyone I watched wasn't impressive.
Okay. All right, let's take a look at other headlines that are on the papers again. This one is from Kano State, where we had that Kano Hospital Management Board suspends 3 CMDs and health workers for shunning night duty. It happens in Kano, but why I'm bringing this up is because this is something that happens a lot in Nigerian government-owned hospitals, that the Kano State Hospital Management Board had removed the chief medical officer of 3 healthcare facilities in the state where health workers shunned night duty on July 30th. The affected hospitals are Imam Wali General Hospital, Abubakar Imam Urology Center, and Nuhu Bamali Maternity Hospital. The public relations officer of the Hospital Management Board, Samira Suleiman, said in a statement on Tuesday that the removal of the CMDs and the suspension of the health workers were approved by the Executive Secretary, Dr. Mansour Nogoda, where the statement, according to the statement, the health workers neglected their duties by absenting themselves from night duty, leaving patients in the hands of students. Why I'm bringing this is for the fact that we are seeing this kinds of situation in our hospitals in Nigeria, and I would like to have your take on this particular headline, and you can elaborate more, expand it to what is happening in our hospitals in Nigeria. What should we do to get out of this situation?
It's sad that you have a level of neglect, which is very abhorrent. But also, it is also incumbent on us to be able to fix our healthcare sector, pay our doctors more. Because half the time, most of those doctors, when you see that level of neglect, they are probably processing out to Japa and go abroad.
Or they have other hospitals, outside private hospitals.
And because what the pay and the standard of working is not, commensurate with their livelihood, it's always problematic. So let's try as much as possible to invest in healthcare. Let's try as much as possible to invest in our medical system. The medical system is a big deal. Let's pump a lot of money into it. Tell you what, America's GDP is about getting up to 20 trillion. The healthcare sector alone is a $3 trillion industry. We can truly improve our healthcare sector and open up the possibility for millions of people. There's so much that we can do that we are not doing already. And please, I beg all of us, let us do well. Let us help our country. Let us heal our country. Let us heal our healthcare sector. And the doctors too must do well. They must be able to do well and bring back justice to the system. It just has to be said.
All right, let's move to The Guardian. This one says electricity sector in focus as supply stays below 4,000 megawatt 10 years after privatization. Stakeholders in Abuja yesterday expressed concern over the state of the power sector in Nigeria, lamenting that about 10 years after privatization of the electricity industry, supply to end users has remained below 4,000 megawatts. I mean, I know you have a lot of interest in this particular sector because you carried a lot of research. You talk about this a lot, about our electricity. I know for a fact that South Africa are generating close to 58,000 as at yesterday when we checked. Close to 58,000 megawatts of electricity. Nigeria, giant of Africa, we are hovering around 4,000 marks. Yesterday we saw the record, we were around 3,900 or thereabouts megawatts of electricity.
I'm not surprised because it's another indication of the failure of Buhari administration. Big failure. One of the biggest problems is not that we are not generating. Our installed capacity is over 10,000 megawatts. But the problem is when you generate and you push to the grid, the grid can't take it. It's not robust enough, so you can't distribute. And to solve that problem, we called in Siemens to be able to expand. Ask them, where is the Siemens? It's English they will be speaking. Ask them, they will speak English. You will think that is the English that will produce lights. No, it's action, work. Ask them, where is the Siemens deal today? Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 that they said. By now, we should have been doing over 20,000 megawatts according to the Siemens deal. We don't know how even the deal was bought to the extent that when they first asked the German Chancellor there, Angela Merkel, she said, Siemens deal, what was that? So it's part of the kind of failures we have. But I think we need to work extensively on this. And that's why whoever they give the power ministry should be able to at first ensure that we do all the phases of the distribution, robust our grid, digitalize our grid. Then a lot of people can add and install capacity. But I'm also happy about the new law recently passed that the states too can have their own electricity market.
Yes.
Let that start. Because if a lot of private sector starts to generate, and in all fairness, like in places in Lagos, there are people that are hooked on to private generators that they give them power directly. So if we can start building state grids and all of that, I think that should be able to help a great deal. But it is part of the mismanagement. See, Ali,
yes,
one of the oldest power plants in this country was built in the 1920s, and guess what? It still works. It's a private owned power plant. It's owned by Nesco in Jos. It was built to be able to provide.
I can connect well to that because that's where I was born and I grew up there. We used Nesco Light.
And you know Nesco, right?
Yes, very well.
Nesco was built in the 1920s to be able to supply power, all right, to the tin industry. There was a big tin industry in Jos, and Nesco was going to supply power to them. Nesco is still working till today, although the capacity might have reduced, but let me also give you another example. There was another power station built around that time called Ijora B Power Station. My father worked in that power station in the 60s. All right?
Yeah.
It was built in the 20s. Today, the next time you come to Lagos, I will go and show you what Ijora has become. It's become a scrap. Ijora has now become a scrap that some people go and shoot films and musical videos.
Oh my goodness.
Inside the power station, they go and shoot film and musical video inside. It has become a scrap. But look at Nesco that was built at the time with Ijora. It's still in power, still well managed. So that's a clear indication of the story of Nigeria for you. So we can do well, we can do better, but we don't manage things better. That's just it. Look at Ugeli. Yes, that one is still producing because I remember my father was part of the first people that worked there when it was built. Because so I'm telling you a lot of family history. My father worked in Star Lava, was trained with Star Lava in Sweden, and Star Lava was those that brought in the turbines that were used in Ugeli power plants. So 65, 66, 67, my father worked around there, so I know a little about those things. So, but the thing is, let's bring it back to the private sector. And El-Rufai was saying yesterday, take the discos away from the banks. Yes, the banks collected the discos because they couldn't pay back their loans. And why couldn't they pay back their loans? It goes back to the problem of tariff. You know, and this, yes, and tariff. These said the people say they're not making money because they're not getting cost reflective tariff. The government is complaining about subsidies. So we need to have an energy mix to be able to meet each other halfway. And that's why you see Nigerian energy companies are even going to invest in countries like Senegal. So there's so much to be done. But I still believe strongly, because I'm a Keynesian theorist by thinking, that the government will still put some subsidy in electricity, in power, in energy, because that's how you can grow your economy. Because you need cheap energy to be able to grow your economy.
Yes, of course.
And look for other cheaper alternative sources.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Rufai Oseni. This is the much time.
Yes, yeah, gotta go.
All right, bless you too. Have a lovely day ahead.
Thanks, yeah.
All right, we've heard that from Mr. Rufai Oseni, who has added color to our conversation today. And this is how far we can go on front page review on Voice of the People 96.1 FM Abuja. Today's edition, Wednesday, 2nd August 2023. Meanwhile, we will continue to keep you up to date with happenings around the protest that is going to be taking place today. We heard that in Kano, there was a warm-up protest yesterday where police went and dispersed the protesters. And today, it's going to be a nationwide protest. We hope that Nigeria will still remain peaceful even after this protest, and hopefully the federal government would also in their own part look at the demand by labor and key into it, so that we will save ourselves the stress, the hassle of going up and down, back and forth, by engaging or stretching the already over a stretch security architecture we have in this country. And we are going to be using this medium again to call on Nigerians that we should please trade tackle with caution. We should not engage in any illegal activity. As we protest, we should go about it legally within the confines of the law. We should not touch anything that does not belong to us. We should not destroy any other person's property. We should not anger any person or group of persons. We should stay within the confines of the law. This is me thinking out loud here. I'm not a preacher man on radio, but I'm a patriot, and I believe in the existence of Nigeria. I believe in the oneness of this country, and this is Voice of the People, 96.1 FM Abuja, where your voice matters. Abuja, now you have a voice. Do well to check us out on our social media handles. On YouTube, we stream live. You can watch us live, and if you missed out on any of our programs, you can go check us, rewind, revisit, and do whatever you want to do. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that you click on that bell, so that whenever we upload any video or we have anything coming up live, you will get a notification so that you don't miss out on some of the juicy content that we bring to your doorstep. We're also live on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Thread. Our office is situated at number 4 Ogbomosho Street, Area 8, Garki, Abuja. Number 4 Ogbomosho Street, Area 8, Garki, Abuja. In case you want to do business with us, we are open for business. Our reach is extensive and our rate friendly. www.abuja.voiceofthepeople.ng is our website.